Welcome back to the Game Changing Podcast. My name is Jay Taft. I am your host, and today is a solo pod. If you guys are watching on the YouTube, you'll see that the video quality is a little off. I am recording this on Zoom, so a little crazy. I had just some camera complications, so I was like, you know what? I really want to record an episode. I really want to get this out for you guys. So we're gonna go Zoom. So if you guys are watching on the video version, that is why the quality looks like this. Audio, hopefully it sounds good. We're just gonna fingers crossed for that. So yeah, let's just get into it. So today I'm actually going to be covering on this podcast 5 mistakes that I made as an athlete. I've done a TikTok series of this a long time ago and it got a really good response. So I figured that I'd actually dive a little more deep into these topics, these 5 things that I have. Trust me, I have made way more than 5 mistakes, but these were things that stood out to me, and I really felt like I wanted to kind of feed into and kind of speak about. So we're just going to dive into that. If you guys have any stories or any questions on any of these things, if you're on the YouTube channel, leave a comment down below. If you're listening via audio, go on my Instagram at Coach J Taft and go ahead and type those questions in because I'd love to answer. With all that being said, though, let's just dive into number 1. And that is, I did not take enough college visits. Obviously, this is for those who want to play in college. I played in college, and yes, did my story end up working out the way it should have and the way it's supposed to, all that good stuff? Yes. But one thing that my coaches and even my parents and just other people who played in college really spoke to me about was to take as many college visits as you can. Even if you really don't have much interest in the school, go check it out. I went to all different levels of college visits, a few of them. Again, I didn't take enough, but I went to a few of them, even though I was like, hey, I don't really want to go to this school based on location or the competition or whatever. It was still good to see and talk to different coaches because then you start being aware and you're able to make almost a pros and cons list of, I do like how the coach says this or how they run their practice, or I don't like this, or I don't really like the system that they run. I don't feel like it fits me as an athlete, but I really, really love the school. So my issue was the first school that I went to, why I decided to go there was simply based off of the coach and the team, which you would think, Jay, duh, like you're going there for college basketball, like to play on the team. That's awesome that you love the coach. But my issue is I didn't like the school. I didn't like the location. I wanted to go to California. That was my goal. I'm here now, but when I was in high school, I was like, I'm only going to a California school. That's it. And then I ended up at a school in Chicago. And I'm like complete opposite of what I wanted. But when I went on the visit, I loved the coach, I loved the players, I loved the atmosphere. I was a film major, so at the time I really liked what they had to offer in that area of education. But then as I actually went to the school, I didn't like it. And I ended up only being there for 2 years. I gave it a second shot. It just wasn't for me. And then my second school, there was definitely, that's when a lot of the mental health stuff and the issues came up with just coaching and the team, and which eventually turned into my story. So I'm grateful for it. But I didn't really learn and I didn't really ask the questions that I knew I should have asked. I was just like, oh, this seems like a great opportunity. Let's take it, whatever. But with that being said, from going into being a freshman to going into being a junior, I wish I looked at more schools and was not so rushed with my decision. So if I were to give you anything, especially those who want to play in college, I would really, really highly suggest taking as many visits as you can, even if you're not interested in the school, because you might be surprised. So that is number 1. Number 2 is I tried to prove everything about my game. Now, there was definitely certain moments that this was more apparent than others. I didn't do this my whole career, but when I did do it and I was in like the thickest of, maybe it was like politics or just trying to figure out my role on the team, or just new teammates or new coaches, or just any of those things, I felt like I just tried to prove my game way too much. And then a direct result of me trying to prove my game led into my mental health not being good and playing extremely like tight, and I wasn't free because everything I did, I tried to prove that I could do this. And if I made a mistake, well, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not proving anything. I'm not showing that I'm the player that I am. I'm not doing the things I know how. And I would just get frustrated and mad at myself. But my biggest advice to you is to play free. Let your game prove itself. When you are able to play free and confident in your skill set, it is such a game changer. LOL at the podcast. No, but it is a game changer. Because in my opinion, okay, confidence in your game comes from preparation. It also comes from obviously like your mindset and being your mindset right. But I also think that when you put true preparation into your game and you believe in that preparation, no matter what happens, you still are like, hey, I'm playing free. I'm playing within myself. I understand that not every game is going to be my best game, but we're going to get it back. So if you're just in this mindset of constantly trying to prove and think about approval of others and what others are going to say via whether that is your coach, your teammates, your parents, I don't know, anybody else, the people in the stands, it is going to not help you at all. So number 2, a mistake I made as an athlete was just trying to prove everything. Just it didn't work out. And then kind of leading into that, my third mistake was making my identity a basketball player. It was one of those things where within 5 minutes of meeting me, you knew I played basketball, whether that was I was in high school, whether that was I was in college, whatever it was, you knew me as Jay, the basketball player. And when I really realized that this was a problem was, it was definitely going into my junior year. It was, geez, I don't even know how many years ago that was. That would have been like almost, holy crap, like 5 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that, 5, 6 years ago. And, which is crazy to even say in the first off, but there was an Instagram trend, I guess you could say, on stories. And it was when, the question Instagram like widget that you could have. And there was this trend going on that was, it said something about like, you aren't you without. So it'd be like, you would type Jay isn't Jay without, and then people would answer that. And I would say 85% of those people put my name, or it's not my name, they put basketball, and then they put like the person I was dating at the time, and then they put like, I don't know, camera, because I was a film major. And at the time I was like, wow, I'm super flattered. Like, people see me, I'm a basketball player. They recognize that. And that's so cool, because like that's where my identity lied, was in a basketball player. So I'm glad that people recognize that. And this is not me saying that being an athlete is something to not be proud of or to like chat about. I think it's awesome. There are so many things that I believe athletics glorify the Lord 1,000% and are awesome in teaching. But when people were specifically just tying me only to basketball, that's a problem. And that ultimately was another reason what led me to having some mental health issues and stepping away from the game, and again going back to number 2, finding approval in everything, because I saw my worth as a basketball player. I didn't realize that I did this, but I did it because why would I want to prove myself to anybody as a basketball player unless I found some deep value in that? And that's a tough thing to swallow, because I learned, and something for you to kind of take away from this podcast is to never put your identity in something that could be taken away from you. So as we know, everything on this earth can get taken away from us. The only thing that cannot be taken away from us is our salvation in Jesus Christ. And that cannot be taken away with us once we give our lives to him. But basketball can be. And just because that my career is in basketball, which has been a story on its own and why I'm doing this, but specifically as a basketball player, your time will end. I keep saying it over and over. And you guys who have listened to this podcast have heard this point constantly. But all of these big WNBA and NBA players, one day they will stop playing too. So when your identity and your worth and your value that you place is only in your sport and only how you perform, like at the end of the day, that's not going to go good for you, because then you're going to end your career and you're not going to know what to do. And sadly, many athletes face this. I mean, I've had a lot of teammates that have faced it. I've had a lot of just other basketball peers or sport or athlete peers that have faced this. I've had a lot of I've heard a lot of stories on athletes not being able to kind of find their way out after sports, and it took a very long time for them. So if I were to tell you anything, and probably one of the most important things that I say on this podcast and why Us Girls Basketball even started, was because I placed my identity in basketball instead of Jesus. I placed my identity in something that could be taken away from me and that wavers and that doesn't have always positive outcomes, instead of placing my identity in Jesus. That even though when you have a relationship with Jesus, that doesn't guarantee the easiest, most happy life, but finding your salvation in Jesus and following Jesus guarantees eternal life. It guarantees just that true joy from the Lord, that whatever you're going through, you know that you have him as your firm foundation. You know that you have him as your joy. And when he is your center, he is your rock, and he can get you through anything. Basketball can't get you through anything. As much as it's awesome and fun and to go and maybe find the court as therapeutic and go shoot and clear your mind, all that is awesome and all that is helpful. But again, when we're putting basketball above anything else and above God, then it turns into an idol. When your sport is your idol, then your worth and your value is in that idol, and that idol cannot fulfill you fully as Jesus can fill you. So that long-winded answer, number 3 mistake that I made as an athlete was I put my identity too much in being a basketball player. My number 4 mistake, and this is definitely like an on-court actual mistake. I know a lot of these things were very like off-court kind of, sort of, or skill-based. But number 4 would be not using change of pace sooner. I remember always working on it. I remember coaches emphasizing it to me, but when I was a younger player, one of my, well, still to this day, but one of my skill sets was that I was fast and I was very speedy, and that I used that to my advantage, especially being like 5'3". Speed was definitely an advantage to me, and it helped me. But when I got older and I played more mature players who also had athletic abilities and were fast and were bigger and stronger, I would get caught in some games when I decided that I thought I could just go as fast as I could down the floor or through a trap, and then I'd get the ball stolen from me, and I wondered why I was getting frustrated. And then it hit me, change of pace, you got to use it. So I am telling you now, as coach and friend, teammate, whatever, use change of pace. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how strong you are. You need to use change of pace, because a lot of offense is being able to deceive the defense and really counter what they're giving you. And if you're going one full speed, a defender can really judge that easy, especially a shot blocker. If you're going one speed to the basket, they can time that very easy. If you're a point guard and you're just going one speed to set up a pick and roll, that defender is going to get over that screen easy instead of setting them up. And also too, you're missing counters. So I would definitely highly urge you to use change of pace in your skill set and really work on it and really focus on it. And especially as a young player, it might feel funny, it might feel awkward, it might feel like you're doing it wrong, but this is the perfect time to take advantage of working on your skills when you're young and getting all those weird habits out and then developing strong ones. So definitely work on change of pace. It's going to help you, especially if you're a player that desires to reach the next level wherever you're at, whether that is you're coming from middle school and you want to start JV, or you want to start varsity, or you want to get to college or pro. Change of pace is a must in every player's game. My number 5 mistake as an athlete would have to be taking the time I had for granted. Now, it's so hard in the moment, and it's very hard, and this is definitely a balanced mistake for sure, because there were definitely times where I only did basketball and I didn't do other things or hang out with friends maybe, or kind of take that time to rest, because basketball was that goal for me. But what I will say is, when there were crucial times for me to really like take that next level in my game, there were times where I was distracted. Let's just put it that way. There were times where in my athletic career, distractions came up and I leaned into those distractions, okay? Whether that was a relationship or a new friend or different passions. And I think it's important that I explored those passions, but I also think that I was very naive in thinking that basketball would be around for much longer than it was, or even small things as I didn't have a senior night for my college career because I stopped playing my junior year. And that was tough. That was a hard thing. It was like, man, I worked all this time and I didn't even get a senior night in college. And the game literally was taken away from me like that, like a snap of the finger, the game was done. And I just urge you to really just don't take advantage of the time that you have. And I know that there's going to be times that we're tired and we don't want to go to practice, or we don't want to get that extra 5 minutes of work in, or we want to skip practice to go watch a TV show or hang out with a friend. If you truly love the game and you truly want to get better at it, there are sacrifices that need to be happen. And I'm not saying that basketball should only be your life, because ball is life is not healthy. It's not accurate. You need to have a balance, but there still has to be sacrifice involved when you are trying to achieve a goal. Now, where I urge you and where I encourage you, if you want to reach the next level in basketball, your sport, whatever that is, and you're struggling with saying no to hanging out with a friend, this is what I want to encourage you with. Is that friend your true friend? If you answer yes, then you can hang out with them the next day. Or you can hang out with them when you're not doing your workout. Workouts max are probably going to run for 2 hours max. And that's a lot of times traveling to the gym and traveling back. You have a lot of time in your day that you can go hang out with that friend. So I know in the moment, I want to go hang out with this friend now, or there's a hangout now. But at the end of the day, there's going to be more hangouts. There's going to be other times during the day that you can see your friend or go to the mall or watch that movie or watch that TV show or do whatever. There's going to be times, and say there is a time that you want to hang out with your friend and they're specifically doing this thing at this time and you really want to reach your goal in basketball. Well, I encourage you to maybe get up earlier and do your workout, or to stay up later and do your workout, or let your friends know, hey, I might be a little bit late because I got to get my workout in. So I'm just, again, all this is coming from experience on the times that I maybe wasn't as focused versus not, and what I see in a lot of players now. So I also want to encourage you that if you don't want to necessarily be like this top basketball player, you don't have to be. You can be a really good high school athlete and be done, or you could only desire to play on JV, and that is completely fine. But if you want to make the sacrifice and reach the next level, I'm just encouraging you now to not take the time you have for granted, because it will be taken away from you instantly. One day you're gonna have your last game and you're gonna not know what hit you, and you're gonna be like, holy crap, how did I have my last game? This went by really fast. So yeah, I hope that made sense. Again, all of these things come from my own experience, come from where I was as an athlete, how I operated as an athlete. I mean, obviously this is a shorter podcast compared to my whole life story with athletics. If you have any questions, let me know, because I would love to chat and I would love to just lean more into these kind of topics. So yeah, so those are the 5 mistakes I made as an athlete. I made many more. I'm going to emphasize that I made many more, but those are the things that I felt like I really wanted to chat with you today, and hopefully that encouraged you guys. It was so great talking to you. I will see you guys next week. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also rate this podcast, all of those good things, because I just love chatting with you guys, and I want this to be a resource for you to almost, just join the conversation, whether that's you look at me as a coach figure or an older sister or a teammate or whatever. I just want to be here to help and encourage you along your athletic journey, and hope you be a more equipped game changer, because I know you guys all have it in you. So again, thank you so much for watching this podcast, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.